sharing worship associate duties with Priscilla, and I have the honor of introducing our speaker, Reverend Candace Chalou. And Candace is an author, a songwriter, a musician, a spiritual director, podcaster, I could probably go on a whole lot of other things, and a speaker who did so well last time she was here that we asked her back. Candace is the pastor of Clayton Memorial Unitarian Universalist Church in Newberry, South Carolina. Now I have a question. How many folks know where Newberry is? Wow, a lot of folks. I'm impressed. Okay, I'm an ignoramus, and I looked it up. I had no idea, and for those of you who don't know, well, it's northwest of Columbia in the quote-unquote Piedmont, and worthy of a visit if you haven't been before, because apparently, not only for the Unitarian service, but there's a Japanese garden in town that gets a 4.5 Google rating. Not easy to get. So you're going to be swamped now. Candace is a graduate of the Candler School of Theology at Emory University in Atlanta, and has been in ministry for the past 23 years, including pastorates in the United Church of Christ and Jubilee Circle, which is an interfaith spiritual community in Columbia that she founded in 2010 and closed in 24. She's also the author of Bulletproof Faith, a spiritual survival guide for gay and lesbian Christians, which was published in 2008 by Jossie Bass. She's been a student of the Course in Miracles since 2016 and today considers herself a recovering Christian. How many folks have said the same thing? Oh yes, we will also be treated after the sermon to one of her songs, and her album is available on streaming services if you want to hear more. So let's welcome Candace for her opening words.
Good morning. I also wash dishes. Just add that to my resume. Good morning. Our opening words come from author Toni Morrison from a 1987 interview she did with CBS Radio. And she said, "Anger, it's a paralyzing emotion. You can't get anything done. People sort of think it's an interesting, passionate, and igniting feeling. I don't think it's any of that. It's helpless. It's absence of control, and I need all of my skills, all of the control, all of my powers, and anger doesn't provide any of that. I have no use for it whatsoever."
At this time, I would like to welcome up Jack Hurley and his and Priscilla's grandson, Kai, and they're going to ignite our chalice flame. So thank you for agreeing to do that. And for those of us who are joining us virtually, why not light a candle at home and join us? Lighting the chalice is a tradition that holds significance. Our chalice lighting reading today is adapted by Lisa Dodge. Why a flaming chalice? The question comes. It's the cup of life, we answer. A cup of blessings overflowing, a cup of water to quench our spirit's thirst, a cup of wine for celebration and dedication, the flame of truth, the fire of purification, oil for anointing, healing, out of chaos, fear, and horror. Thus was the symbol crafted generations ago. So may it be for us in these days of uncertainty, sorrow, and even rage, and still a light to warm our souls and guide us home. Please rise as you are able and join us for our opening hymn, and you will find it in your order of service on this convenient piece of paper. No books needed today. That is 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are.
Morning. Well, as you know, in the summertime, we rarely have children in the audience, but today we're going to do it a little bit differently. So there are several people in the audience who have quotes, and they're going to be a part of my story for all ages, since we are all ages here. So it's striking how virtually every major spiritual tradition across all the continents, across all the eras and cultures, they all reach the exact same conclusion. Anger clouds our judgment, breaks our connections to one another, and it very rarely achieves the justice that it promises. And even righteous anger often ends up the poisoning of the vessel that holds it. So I'd like to ask the folks in the congregation that have a quote from the various different religions to stand. And we'll start up here with Janet and work our way around, and if you would go ahead and start. Thank you. So we now turn to our book of life, which is our diary of sorts, where we share our joys and concerns and the milestones. Here we bring the full tapestry of our days, the moments that lift us up, the burdens that weigh us down, and the quiet milestones in between. Whether you come carrying a light heart, a grieving spirit, or a hope for tomorrow, this space is open to you. Our joys expand when we celebrate them together. Our sorrows and concerns grow lighter when held in community. And our milestones remind us of the journey that we share together. We have an unfortunate death. So Rich Siegel, who is the husband of Donna Prescott, passed away this week in a memory care facility up in Glens Falls, New York. For those of you who remember Rich and Donna, we're always here during the fall, winter, and spring months, and then they escaped our summer heat up to upstate New York. And so Rich, incredibly, Rich was a researcher in the neurosciences, specifically Parkinson's and the need for, or the how dopamine affects Parkinson's. And in the later years, I used to take him out for lunch every couple of weeks. And he said, Priscilla, you know, I know what's coming. He said, I have spent my entire life studying the brain, and that is what is turning against me. It was very, very sad. So we'll keep Donna and her family and Rich's family in our hearts and prayers. On a happier note, happy birthday to Lisa Hajar, who celebrated another passing year this past Friday, July 24th. And also congratulations to Lisa and Mark Farnham, who celebrated their 42nd wedding anniversary this past Tuesday on, July 28th, so coming up. Mazel tov. And then Tommy Houston has a joy and a concern.
Thank you, Priscilla. I asked her to let me speak about a concern, or a joy and a concern that I learned about last week before coming. I'd thought about it for a week, and I think you'd be interested in knowing this. And this was on the CBS Sunday Morning News. I don't know how many of you watch that program, but I try to catch as much of it before I come here. And the item on there was about a federal judge, who's on the Circuit Court of Appeals. That's one step below the U.S. Supreme Court, and he's 79 years old, and he's continued to work as a circuit judge there, in spite of the fact for the last 10 or 15 years he's had multiple sclerosis, MS, so he's confined to a wheelchair now as far as his ability to move around, but he continues to carry a full workload with the circuit court wherever it is. It's out west, somewhere out west. I forgot which circuit it is. So I'm certainly encouraged by the fact that he has that kind of determination and love for the job that he's doing, that he's continuing to work. They don't have a mandatory retirement in the federal system. By the way, we have a mandatory retirement in the state system at 72, but I just learned last week that actually the legislature has passed a provision in the current budget that's going to go through that increases that to 74, which I think is a good thing. But anyway, I'm glad to see that they're doing that. I've been retired for a little over 20-something years, but have been what's called retired but active. I continue to work some. But anyway, the item that I'd like to share with you the most is this. One of the clerks for that judge that I'm talking about, each federal judge and each state judge for that matter has a clerk. It's usually a young lawyer who's just graduated from law school that works for you for a year or two and then goes out. Well, one of his clerks was blind. She was blind from birth. They showed a picture of her. She has eyes, but for some reason the nerves or whatever don't work, and she's been blind from birth. But she went on to law school, had an outstanding record as far as law school, got the job clerking for this judge. And then it told that after she worked clerk for him, she went into private practice for a while, and then President Clinton, I believe it was, or Obama, I can't remember which one of the Democratic presidents anyway, put her on, hired her as the chief counsel for the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the top lawyer for that federal agency. Well, the concern is Trump fired her.
Thank you, Tommy. So let's join in song, hymn number 170, We Are a Gentle, Angry People.
Candace has chosen a prescient reading for today that comes from one of the leading lights in the field of mindfulness, who some of you may be familiar with, Thich Nhat Hanh. This is from his book, Anger, Wisdom for Cooling the Flames. When someone insults you or behaves violently towards you, you have to be intelligent enough to see that the person suffers from his own violence and anger. But we tend to forget. We think that we're the only one that suffers and the other person is our oppressor. This is enough to make anger arise and to strengthen our desire to punish. We want to punish the other person because we suffer. Then we have anger in us. We have violence in us just as they do. When we see that our suffering and anger are no different from their suffering and anger, we will behave more compassionately. So understanding the other is understanding yourself. And understanding yourself is understanding the other person. Everything must begin with you.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate you being here today. Sort of sitting room only over there. Good problem to have in the summertime. And y'all are so close. Oh my God, over there, y'all are way far away. I spent years in radio, and I've been told I have a face for radio, so. And I'm kind of like a Monet, you know, so far away, I'm great, but you get up close. Mess. I bring you greetings this morning from Clayton Memorial Unitarian Universalist Church in Newberry, South Carolina. We are a very small and loving people. We are a gentle, angry people like everyone else. And if you ever find yourself in the Piedmont, come and see us. Here's a caveat. We only meet in person on the first Sunday of the month, so check your calendar, but come and see us 11 o'clock like everyone else. So thank you again for having me back. I love coming to the Unitarian Church in Charleston. Y'all are wonderful, so thank you so much for continuing to let me come and chat at you. Hello, my name is Candace. I am an angerholic. I'll tell you, I come by it honestly. I grew up in a household where anger was really only one of the main emotions that we could express. I mean, there were other factors in my upbringing. I'm not going to make this a therapy session, but I remained a very angry person until I was in my 30s. When I finally realized, as the quote said, you know, my anger was like this hot coal that I was holding, and I was hoping to toss it at everybody else, but it wasn't helping me. It was just burning me. Like any other addiction, it destroyed a lot of my relationships. And similar to other addictions, there are situations and circumstances that tempt you to relapse. And these days, as I read the news or spend time on social media, feel that anger, crawling, when you get angry, it crawls up your neck, I open Facebook, and that's the first thing. And it's difficult. It is so hard to not give in to anger these days. In fact, there's a saying that has almost become a creed for our political movement. If you're not angry, you're not paying attention. And I understand why. I understand why that resonates. I mean, when democracy feels fragile, when our LGBTQ plus members are targeted, when immigrants are treated as threats instead of human beings, when racism persists, when the gap between rich and poor grows wider, when war fills our screens, when climate disasters become just a Tuesday, how can we not be angry? And in many ways, anger is love's first language. We become angry because we care. We become angry because something precious to us is under attack. So I'm here this morning. I'm not here to tell you that your anger is wrong. I'm just going to ask you to ask a different question. What is your anger teaching you to pay attention to? Because my anger it made me pay attention to slights, to insults, to things that made me feel small or foolish. And I could only break that addiction by paying attention to other things. The relationships that were important to me, the beauty inherent in this world, and the reality that embarrassment, it's never going to kill me. Makes me wonder, though, if, politically speaking, we may be repeating the wrong slogan. Maybe a deeper spiritual truth is, if you are angry, you're not paying attention. Or perhaps more accurately, if your anger has become the loudest voice in your life, then you are no longer paying attention to what matters most. That may sound weird, so I'm going to explain. One of the wisest observations I've heard about anger comes from a teacher of A Course in Miracles named Emily Perry. She asks us to consider just a series of simple questions. Is there someone you are avoiding because you don't want to see them? Do someone's habits instantly irritate you? Oh, y'all had somebody come, right? Yeah. I did too. Is there someone you've supposedly forgiven, but really you just erased them from your life? And do you secretly hope someone feels guilty for what they did to you? Now, most of us, we're not going to describe ourselves as angry people. We're thoughtful. We're reflective. We're reasonable. We're the people who attend church on Sunday morning. Surely we're not the angry ones. But you know, anger wears a lot of disguises. Sometimes anger isn't shouting. Sometimes it's just contempt. Sometimes it's avoidance. Sometimes it's my personal favorite, sarcasm. Sometimes it's certainty. Sometimes it's simply deciding that another human being no longer deserves our curiosity. And I think that last one may be the most dangerous one, because curiosity is the first casualty of anger. Now, when I used to become consumed by anger and outrage, I did notice I got a lot less curious because my world got really small. And psychologists call this the attentional narrowing. The body is preparing for conflict. You're scanning for danger. It identifies enemies and notices threats, which is wonderful if you're running from a tiger. Maybe not so much if you're trying to build a beloved community. Anger is a spotlight, and it shines brilliantly on just one thing, and everything else just disappears in the darkness around it. And here's where our culture has become remarkably good at teaching us what to pay attention to. Power. Who won? Who lost? Who insulted whom? Who controls Congress? Who controls the Supreme Court? Who posted what? Who said the outrageous thing today? You all know the answers to that. But anyway, every day for the past 10 years. But anyway, every day our attention is auctioned off to the highest bidder. And the currency is outrage. And the more outraged we become, the longer we watch. And the longer we watch, the more money somebody else makes. We have become experts in the machinery of power. But have we become better at noticing suffering? I mean, that Jesus guy, if you think back to him, he wasn't particularly interested in the machinery of Rome. I mean, he knew it existed. He constantly challenged it. But I invite you to notice where his attention always went. It went to the child everyone else ignored. It went to the immigrant everyone else distrusted. It went to the poor, to the sick, to the lonely. Everyone else was watching Caesar, but Jesus He watched suffering, and he paid attention, close attention, to what those people needed. The Buddha, he reached a similar conclusion. Teacher and author Thich Nhat Hanh often said that understanding is another name for love. Now think about that. Love doesn't demand agreement or approval, just understanding. And when we're angry, we stop wondering. We stop asking, what pain brought this person to this place? What story have they been told? Compassion doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but it does refuse to reduce another human being to their worst moment. Hatred says, they're nothing but, you know what? You can finish that sentence. But love says, there's always more to the story. Our own Unitarian Universalist tradition begins with a radical claim that every person possesses inherent worth and dignity. Every person, not just every kind person, not just every informed person, not every person who voted the way we did, every person. And that's an easy principle to agree with if we're talking about children, but it's definitely more difficult when we're talking about, politicians. And it's almost impossible when we talk about extremists. And yet, if we only believe in the inherent worth of a human being when it's convenient for us, then that's not inherent. That's conditional. And so the challenge for liberal religions is that we never have to learn to love the people we agree with. The challenge has always been to learn how to resist injustice without surrendering compassion. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel marched beside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in Selma, Alabama back in 1965. And afterward he wrote, "I felt my legs were praying." And I've always loved that sentence. For Heschel, prayer became walking, faith became movement, attention became action. But notice something important. Heschel was deeply aware of injustice. And King certainly knew how evil racism was. Neither man denied reality. Neither man asked people to become passive, but neither did they make anger the center of their movement. Love was always at the center. Justice was always the goal. Community was the destination. Now, anger might start the engine, but it cannot be allowed to drive the car. There's another teaching from the Jewish tradition that I think can help carry us through these difficult times. It is not your responsibility to finish the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. And that feels very different from the way many of us experience, especially the news. I mean, the news tells us you got to solve everything immediately, every crisis, every injustice, every election, every catastrophe. No wonder we're exhausted. No wonder we're angry. But this wisdom, it calls us to something gentler. All it's saying is do your part. We're not called to do everything, just your part. That can be big, it can be small. Fred Rogers' mother famously told him, when you see frightening things, look for the helpers. But I think we might add something. Don't just look for the helpers, be one. Because paying attention isn't passive. Attention is the birthplace of compassion, and compassion, that is what gives birth to action. So what does paying attention to the right things in this world actually look like? Well, I think it looks surprisingly ordinary. It means learning the name of people that we usually overlook. It means, asking the grocery store cashier how they're really doing. It means noticing who's missing from the congregation this week. It means checking on the elderly neighbor who lives alone. It means volunteering regularly and not just when you're inspired to do that. It means showing up at places like city council meetings. It means welcoming refugees. It means cooking meals and planting gardens and supporting food banks and writing legislatures. It's voting. It's standing beside those people whose rights are under threat right now. It looks like listening before arguing, and maybe even apologizing if we've caused harm. It means forgiving when forgiveness feels impossible. Every one of these actions, it says, I see you. And that may be the simplest definition of love. Love is paying attention to what truly matters, and what truly matters is everyone you encounter today. French philosopher and mystic Simone Weil once wrote that attention is the purest form of generosity. Now think about someone in your life who may have truly listened to you during a difficult time. Someone who just wasn't waiting their turn to speak. Someone who wasn't trying to fix you. Someone who just stayed. I'll bet you felt loved. Not because they solved your problems, because they gave you their attention, their full attention. They put their phone down. Gave you their full attention. Because attention says you matter. In a world that competes for our attention every second of the day, choosing where we place that attention is a profoundly spiritual act. And now none of this, don't get me wrong, none of this means that we stop resisting injustice. Vote, organize, protest, advocate, protect vulnerable communities, continue to speak truth to power. Our faith requires all of that, but never forget why. The purpose of politics is not politics. The purpose of politics, which we have forgotten, is people. Policies that help people. If our activism makes us less compassionate, less patient, less curious, less capable of recognizing another person's humanity, then the machinery of power has already captured our souls. Course in Miracles teacher Marianne Williamson was speaking at a recent retreat where during the opening discussion, one person after another just stood up and basically described all the terrible things happening in the world. And finally, Marianne interrupted and she said, you know, we all know what happens in this world. The purpose of our time together is not to figure out how much we hate the rapist. The purpose of our time together is to figure out what is ours to do so there are no more rapists. Powerful shift from hatred to healing, from blame to responsibility, from outrage to love in action. And this, my friends, is where our spiritual lives truly begin. So maybe it's time to retire that old slogan and replace it with another. Instead of saying, if you're not angry, you're not paying attention, perhaps we should say, if you are angry, pay closer attention. The good news this morning is that politics and politicians come and go. Can I hear an amen? All those who led campaigns for love and justice knew that. So instead of getting angry, they paid closer attention. So that is our call as well. Instead of putting your attention, I know this is hard, it's hard for me, I'm preaching to myself right now. Instead of putting all of your attention on the latest news from Washington, D.C., I invite you to pay attention to the person in front of you. Pay attention to the lonely. Pay attention to the frightened, and you will find them everywhere. Pay attention to the children. Pay attention to the refugee, the immigrant being hunted by ICE. Pay attention to the grieving parent. Pay attention to the exhausted teacher. Pay attention to the healthcare workers. Pay attention to the person whose politics you cannot fathom. Not because they're right, but because they are human beings. Let's not forget that, ever. Power wants us to stare upwards, but love invites us to look around. One direction leads to outrage. The other, it leads to a beloved community. And every day, every moment, we have a choice in which direction we will look. It's easy, so easy, in this world to become an angerholic. Our drug of choice, outrage, it's freely available. Watch the news. Go to Facebook. I invite you to delete Facebook. I really want to do that right now. But my hope for us today is that we can break our addiction to anger and start paying attention to what really matters. Seeking justice, telling the truth, protecting the vulnerable. My friends, the deepest revolution, it has never, ever, ever begun in the halls of power. It has always begun in the ordinary people paying extraordinary attention to one another. So may our attention become compassion. May our compassion become courage. May our courage become action. And may our action become the kind of unconditional, addicting love that quietly, patiently, and stubbornly heals the whole world. Thank you. I'm going to move over here now. I did just put an album out last month. As a matter of fact, I worked 2 years on this album. So this song is actually on it. It's called Walking Home. And I call this a jaunty tune about impermanence. Thank you. I have CDs available, just to say.
To take our offering, for those of you who are here in Gage Hall with us, we'll have ushers come by and place your offering in the basket. If you are with us virtually, there should be a QR code on the screen. You can scan that. In your order of service, there is also a QR code if you want to donate online, or you can certainly always mail a check to the Gage Hall. We gather our blessings open and free to nourish the soul of our community. With grateful spirits and willing hands, we give so that hope and compassion expand. May the gifts that we offer in coin, time, or care sustain the safe haven
At this time, I invite Kai and Jack back up. Priscilla, would you like to? Oh, yeah. That part. It's the lighting part we get worried about, not the blowing out someone. Okay, all right. So those of you watching virtually may also extinguish your candles at this time. And everyone, please contemplate the words as you read the verse with me that's printed in your order of service. We extinguish this chalice flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our closing hymn is number 414 as we leave this friendly place, again in your order of service on the sheet of paper.
Our closing words come from Marianne Williamson from her book, A Return to Love. I spent years as an angry left-winger before I realized that an angry generation can't bring peace. Everything we do is infused with the energy with which we do it. As Gandhi said, we must be the change. What the ego doesn't want us to see is that the guns we need to get rid of first are the guns in our own heads.